So, folks, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, I have an amazing, amazing experience now. I get to talk to two great fucking friends. And look, two absolute legends in the scene. You people don't get this very often. This is a very cool experience. So, I'm gonna let Mr. Lee introduce our guest with a little story he's got to tell here.
Yeah, okay. Obviously we have Paul Speckmann of Master here.
Woo!
And I want to say this because I actually just did this interview from Voices from the Dark Side just a couple days ago with Frank Stover.
Okay.
And I actually talked about this in the interview with Frank. Um, but I know there was a Paul said there was I guess a Rock Hard Magazine interview with Chuck a long time ago or a while ago, back when he was still alive, which is a long time ago, where he said he didn't know who Paul was. And I can tell you, because I just said this in the interview, and I've told Paul this before, and this is truth here. Um, that is kind of a lie. I don't know why he would even say that back then, but and I can tell you the story, and the same story that I just put in Voices from the Dark Side. Right after the first time we had just become Death, uh, we were still, there was a time where we were at Mantis. Freddie got kicked out. You know, Chuck tried a couple of guys out. It didn't work out. So, I said, well, let's get Freddie back in the band because we couldn't find anybody. It's Orlando, Altamont Springs during the time. It's not like, and we were teenagers. We weren't driving to Tampa and looking for people or anything like that. We couldn't
Sure.
find anybody that wanted to play the type of music we were doing. So the second time after Freddie was back in the band and we were Death, and we played, in 80, 84, the infamous Nasty Savage, New Year's show we played with Freddie. It was shortly after that Freddie was booted again. He was kicked back out again. And it was in this time frame I was living with Chuck. I
Right.
actually was living at his house. And
Mhm.
he was still tape trading. We were tape trading back and forth from his house. And then he was getting a bunch of different, tapes and tapes traded from Monty Connor, and even Borvor back then was sending him stuff. We went out for a car ride one evening, and he got a new car. We were in the car. He puts this cassette in, and he's like, I want you to start playing drums, a little, because I was, like I said, I was a punk drummer. I just played a single bass kit. I was playing D beat stuff like Discharge beats and stuff like that. I really wasn't playing metal, drum beats, stuff that was, typically with the metal that was coming out during the time. We're in the car and we're driving, and he puts the Death Strike demo in. And the first song comes on. It's fucking brutal. It's got fucking double bass. And he goes, I want you to start playing drums like this with the double bass. And of course, like I said, I was a punk kid. I had a 5 piece kit, single bass. I never even played double bass. And he was saying, this is what we need to play like. We need to be more like this,
Right.
and that's actual fact. That's true. And because I didn't have the cash funds and I was living at Chuck's house and there was no way Chuck's parents were going to buy me a new drum kit, I basically said, okay, well, I'll do the best I can, which you can't fake double bass with a single bass. You just can't. It's impossible. So I compensated by writing, kind of trying to write faster, and I did sort of pseudo blast beats. And one of the first songs that we wrote. Now, I was also asked this: what were the songs that we wrote without Freddie involved? What were the songs that just Chuck and I wrote? Well, I could tell you the songs that Chuck and I wrote were songs like "Baptized in Blood" and "Beyond the Unholy Grave." And in those songs, I tried to beef up the drumming, only because this is, Chuck. After Chuck introduced me to the Death Strike demo, and other stuff for coming out that during that time. So prior to that, what everybody wants to believe, the narrative that was made, that all the Chuckophiles and the cult of Chuck want to believe, is that he was the guy that created it all. I don't know if you can necessarily say that, because we were all influenced by different stuff, you know, and we literally were listening to the Death Strike demo. We were listening to a lot of bands that were coming out of Chicago at the time. There was a lot of metal that we were listening to because we were getting tapes traded all the time.
Right.
So why he would say that later on in the fucking interview, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. But I can tell you the truth was he knew who Paul was. We knew we knew who Death Strike was.
Right.
I'm just saying that was just a great time, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
The tape
I mean,
training time was great, right?
yes, of course.
It-
And I mean, it's the fact is that it gets overlooked. It gets overlooked, and I'll always fight for this. But Chicago had a big part, that area, the area you were originally from, the bands coming out of that area, you and a lot of other bands from that pocket, that fucking Midwest pocket, they get overlooked. But those bands were essentially coming around the same time. Tampa only got its fucking hype after so many bands wanted to record at More Sound. If More Sound had been in Chicago rather than fucking Tampa, I think that things would have changed. Things would be different. They wouldn't say, "Oh, Tampa's the capital, death metal capital of the world." It fucking wasn't, and it was so fucking ridiculous. Is Death wasn't even from Tampa. Death is from Orlando, which is 88 miles away from Tampa. So
Okay.
why they want to fucking lie? I just want to be the narrative in our scene is so changed. It's been doctored. It's been doctored all these years to fit these certain, I don't know. So that, I mean, it's here we are 40 something years later. I'm still fighting the fucking good cause, trying to keep the truth alive. And
Fighting a good fight. Yeah, it's okay. Fighting a good fight is what it's all about, brother. I understand.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
Hey, Paul. So look, now that we got you on here, why don't you tell us a little bit about what that Chicago scene was going on? Because everyone's heard, me and Cam talk about Altamont Springs and Orlando and the whole 9 yards with it. But why don't you talk about what was going on back in those early days there when, I mean, all this stuff was first just coming around? I mean, when you guys were basically starting what would be, this genre.
And then there were bands like Macabre out there that were working on getting their shit together, Terminal Death.
Yep.
Quite a few cool bands. There was a underground booming scene, but again, it wasn't called death metal.
Nope.
It came later,
Yeah.
Right.
That term didn't come into much many years later. I mean, many years later. It was even in the early 90s before, that they were just, and it's a label created term. I mean, that's what people seem to misunderstand nowadays, because it wasn't called death metal. We didn't have specific genres back then. We just were called metal band or speed metal. We weren't going around saying, well, we're death metal. It became sort of like, I don't remember where the term, I mean, of course, you're going to have somebody saying that they created it, back in the day, blah, blah, this. But,
and Onslaught had songs called death metal, but
yeah,
I don't know if that's where the term really came from. Yeah, come on.
I mean, where I first remember it, and I've talked about this before, there was a 1984 LP, compilation LP with Running Wild, Hellhammer, I can't remember the other two bands on it. And it was just 4 bands, 4-song EP. It came out in 1984, and it was just called death metal. It was like a death metal compilation. I don't think it was meant to be the term of the music. I just think that was what that particular EP was called. But yeah, I mean, I don't remember ever.
That's cool.
I don't ever remember saying the term death metal until the 90s, until it started coming out after the earache band started coming out, and we got some, Massacre finally got signed after everything. I don't even think the first Scream Bloody Gore or even Leprosy was still being termed death metal at the time. I don't know, but it then became a staple term, I guess, like I said, through media and stuff like that. But I think what I find ironic right now is the fact that The Truth was the song that I heard, and that we're talking the truth now. I just thought that was ironic. It's like we're trying to spread the truth still to this day, and that was the song that we heard. And I can tell you, personally, coming out of being Mantis, which we were very much a Venom influenced band. We weren't even, so I would even say, people want to say Venom was the first black metal band, but we didn't even call them black metal. That was just the name of their album. They were just like a heavy metal band, that just did this kind of stuff. So that's where
what happened?
Yeah.
So
all of a sudden we froze right there. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, good.
So I'm just saying that just Mantis was prior to that was just literally, and that, Pete's heard some of the stuff recently done. I'll just say I don't care. Is this is this coming out before or after?
We could drop this afterwards, so it's okay.
I mean, we could say I don't care. I tell you what, let's cut that part.
Venom was where it was at, of course, man.
Yeah,
that Welcome to Hell and Black Metal were just fucking legendary fucking releases, of course.
Yeah, I mean
those were the records that changed my life. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, same here. I mean, that's like where we were kind of like going from. I walked into a record store before I didn't even know, Freddie, and Chuck didn't even come until much later, till almost a year later. And this is still at the bottom end of '83, towards the end of '83. I'm pretty sure it was November. I kind of remember it being November. And the reason I know this is because of my parents' divorce and the year I went to live with my dad, and when my mom came and basically ripped me out of my dad's house because she had, rights, parental rights to take me. And, because I remember all this shit, as a teenager, you remember this stuff. And it's like, okay, I got to go live with my mom and her fucking new boy, who were fucking, which ended up being my stepfather, piece of shit. Yeah. But, that date is burned in my head. I have that date burned in my head. So it was the summer of '83. I have to get forced to move up in fall of '83 to from the Keys, where my dad's house was. My dad had a killer kick-ass house at Key Largo, and she pulls us up, me and my brother. We're forced to go move up into this little shit town out in Hot Springs. So there used to be one record store right down the street. Pete knows what this record store was. It was at the Interstate Mall. That was generally the first vinyl store, around the area. And I used to walk there from Forest City, because that's really where I live. And it's 7 miles. And I used to walk there just to go get records. I'd save up all my fucking money, during the fucking, lunch money, not eating lunch at school, and just to go buy records. And
total dedication.
Yeah. I mean, back then, I was, like I said, I was a punker kid. So I was into like the Misfits and, early stuff, GBH, and even before that, the Ramones. I'm not going to lie, I was a big Ramones fan. And then the Plasmatics. And I remember I went to the store, the record store that day to buy the Plasmatics Metal Priestess album. I remember specifically I was going to buy the Metal Priestess album. And, you back then you thumb through albums. You go through the vinyl section and you thumb through it. And you just look for cool shit. And I remember I'm holding the Metal Priestess album, put that down on the side, and I'm definitely going to buy it. And I'm just going through stuff. And then I get to the V's, and I'm thinking V, what's going to be in V besides Van Halen? I think I passed like Diver Down. The Van Halen album was in there. And that's the other thing, too. They would just lump all this stuff together. There was no metal section back then. It was just all rock. No. So I'm getting to the V's, and I pass like, Van Halen, and then I get this I stop at this ugly brown gold album, and I pull it up, and it's got this fucking goat-headed pentagram on it. This logo, which I didn't even remember thinking it was Venom. I'm looking at it because that original Venom logo was more 70s. It looked more hippie-like, kind of like something like lettering from the 70s.
Sure.
And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm going, this is an ugly fucking album cover. What is this? It's because Welcome to Hell. I flip it over. There's this black and white photo of these 3 guys on a beach. One guy's got an axe, which I think was Cronus. He had a hatchet in his hand, and they're all like bent over. And I'm like, well, I got to get this. I don't know what the fuck it is, but I'm getting it. So it was that, Metal Priestess, and I think because I was down at the end, I passed Witchfinder General. And I was like, ooh, there's titties on this, So I'm a fucking 16-year-old kid. I'm like, there's fucking titties on this. I'm like, oh, shit. So I'm thinking, well, I live at home still with mom. I can't bring a fucking album home with titties on it. So, I ended up just buying the Venom album. And that's literally the story of how I got introduced to Venom. I just bought it on a whim because it was so. And couple of weeks later in art class, I meet Freddie. I had a punk band, not even, when you guys you're young teenagers, you're trying to play together. It's not really a band where nobody can play. You're just fucking around in a garage. So I had a band prior to that with 2 other guys, these 2 like punker kids, or supposed punker kids that I met. And, you know, we try to play through Skulls, Misfits, and I think we try to play something off the Plasmatics. And, you know, these are guys that barely have any, you know, skills on guitars. They're just kind of winging it. We're just trying to go by ear. I'm just playing the drums with the best I can.
Yeah.
And nobody was singing back then. We're just playing it, just jamming, just basically jamming.
Hell yeah,
and,
jamming as well.
Yeah, and
anyway.
for just for the hell of it, we were called Invaders from Hell. So that's literally my first band. But then I met Freddie, because those guys they fagged out, they wimped out, they got gay, and I'm using that in the '80s term. I'm not meaning they're homos. I'm not. You know, I mean, they wimped out. They wimped out, and they were like, they came to me and they're like, well, we don't want to play this dark music anymore. We want to be more popular. And I remember the guy that was like the bass player looks at me and goes, yeah, we want to play music like the Police. And I was like, fuck that. Fuck that. I was like, I'm out of here. Awesome. Fuck that. And then I was kind of, you know, I was down in the dumps for a while, and I'm sitting in art class drawing, you know, demons and skulls and shit and devils. And up comes this fat, pudgy kid with Iron Maiden, you know, Killer's album cover. And he slides the vinyl over to me and he goes, hey, man, you think you could draw this? And I was like, yeah, I could draw it. And kind of like that's how we met and started like talking. And then finding out we had not similar taste in music, but he knew stuff that I didn't know. Like he knew bands like, you know, Anvil and a lot of bands like that. And this Strat stuff. Yeah, stuff like that. And I introduced him to you know, other stuff. By that time, we started hanging out, and it was all just me and him hanging out. And then, you know, I found out he plays guitar, so I invited him over to my house to start jamming. We were jamming stuff like all we could play was Venom stuff, because I mean, we weren't skilled musicians, you know, and neither were Venom. So it was like easy. It was like, oh,
it was perfect.
We can play this easy shit. Yeah, we can play this easy shit, and that's literally how it started.
Perfect.
Hey, Paul,
that's a great way to start, you know? What?
Oh yeah. Hey, tell me about your record store experience, because, you know, I mean, I think that's the thing. All of us, I mean, look, you two are a little bit older than me, not much, but a little bit. So, I mean, the record store experience.
Damn, man, I ain't like a mummy. Shit, you making me sound like Asian.
I'm a mummy, yeah.
Exactly. Hey, look, man. So, but the record store experiences when we were younger, really brought a lot, because there was no internet, there was no YouTube. Nope. So the only way you found bands was to go to record stores and go bin diving, right? And like I said, there was no heavy metal, so you had to flip through everything. And a lot of times
it was a rock section.
A lot of times it was the album cover. So what was your experience, Paul? Do you remember going to the stores and going diving and for albums and stuff? And what albums?
Yeah, I used to go to the Rolling Stones, you know. It was called Rolling Stones Record and Tapes. Chicago. It was a big place.
Right.
And I discovered a lot of bands there. Or the Flip Side.
Right.
This was another one. I met Ozzy Osbourne at the Flip Side. You know, that was cool back in the day. I met Def Leppard and Metallica, all these different bands. But back in the day, they'd have these meet and greets. And you wouldn't pay them $250 to shake their hand. You just had to buy the LP.
Yep.
You know, or the cassette. That was your meet and greet. And you got to walk up to Ozzy Osbourne if you bought one of the first 98 the debut album, Blizzard of Oz. If you bought one of the first 98 LPs, you got to shake Ozzy's hand, and they gave you a ticket for the L train, you know, the crazy train.
Right.
That was a good example. Back in the day, it was much different.
Yeah.
It wasn't $250 for the meet and greet. It was, you got to buy the LP, you know? I don't remember what it cost, maybe $10 or something back in the day.
Right.
But, you know, you got to shake Ozzy's hand, and he gave you a ticket to the crazy train. And you went and they served like Kentucky Fried Chicken and Pepsi Cola, and you got to sit with Ozzy and take a Polaroid, you know, like you saw the picture in the book, Pete.
Right. Yeah.
Crazy train. That was cool stuff back then. That was what metal was about, you know, or rock and roll, whatever, you know.
Sure. And you know, that's the difference. And I mean, that's one thing I know the two of you have brought over, because I've hung out with the two of you at the merch table, but you two both take it upon yourselves to sell merch personally to people. And I think it's because of that experience of us growing up in those times that you guys understand what it means to be the person that comes and actually buys and gets to buy an album from Ozzy and gets to shake his hand and take a Polaroid.
That's the greatest. It was the greatest experience ever.
Right. And I mean that's really something that you two have in common still to this day is you guys both sell your own merch and you guys give fans a really cool experience without asking them to pay a couple hundred
Well,
euros to fucking
I got a little tiny little story. I'm not gonna like steal everybody's like thunder here, but I think
Right.
I talked to you about this, Pete. I fucking hate meet and greets. I hate them, not because I don't want to meet the people. I hate when the fucking promoter or whoever tries to make the people pay. So
Yeah.
I was in China. Okay, I'm in China. First time, like what, last year or the year before, and they snuck this shit, just like the one that was in
Serbia.
you and I, Pete, where they did the meet and greet backstage, and all of a sudden there's people lining up. And we're like, what the fuck is this?
The Exit
So
Festival.
so same kind of shit, last minute meet and greet. We get to the venue, and the promoter's like setting up this table, and I'm thinking it's going to be the merch table. I'm like, oh, fucking cool. This is not a lot of room. And he's like, oh no, this is for the meet and greet. And I'm like, what meet and greet? So he's like, oh, we're doing a meet and greet. And I'm like, I don't do those. Like, so he thought I wasn't going to come out of the back. So I was like, no. I don't make people pay. So I kept coming out and standing while the opening band was playing. I kept walking out into the crowd and walking over to the merch table. He kept running back over to me. No, you can't be here. You can't be here. I'm like, what do you mean I can't be here? He's like, you have to wait till the meet and greet. And I'm like, no, I'm not fucking doing that, dude. Sorry. And people didn't really know who I was until he started coming up and started, trying to push me backstage. And I'm like, I'm not going to fucking stand backstage, man. I'm standing out here. If people come up, I'll meet them. I'll sign whatever they want, take a picture with them, whatever. He's like, and he got irate, but I don't give a fuck. I was like, I don't fucking care. So that's just my little story, man. It's like, you always see Paul selling his merch. You see him, he's very approachable, very easy to get to. This last festival we played, when I was playing with you, Paul, I had a merch guy that just wanted to do it. So I was like, dude, if you want to do it, cool. But that was cool because I got to walk around more. I got to actually be out in the crowd more.
It was cool to see you, for sure, brother. I was happy when you come up and said hello. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I walked right over to you, and I walked over to everybody else. And I'm like, I'm not one of those guys that I'm not a rock star. I don't hide backstage like these guys do.
You know what was really great about that festival is that we got that shot with you, me, and Chris. That was perfect.
Yep, awesome.
That's one of the good thing, right?
Yeah,
you came right up to me. He's ready. Okay, that was great. That made me happy.
It was awesome,
and
I love the fact that people still to this day are talking about that picture. They still,
and I have that on my Facebook at the top. Of course, I want everybody to see that. Come on, there's history there.
People are always like, "Oh, this needs to be a tour." I'm like, "Hey, me and Paul will do it. I don't know if Chris will do it, but Paul
he won't do it.
We're set to do something like that."
He's not into touring, but we got to do something exactly. But it would be great to get all three of us. I wish.
Yeah, it would be. It would be.
Yeah.
How about my really quickly? How about my story on that on Venom? So how I was in a band called War Cry, playing this doomy, Sabbathy kind of heavy metal, I guess they called it at the time, and the guitar player, he brought that 7-inch to rehearsal. Welcome to Hell and Live Like an Angel, Die Like a Devil. It was just a 7-inch.
Yeah.
And he's like, Paul, I know you're listening to Motorhead all the time, because at that time in '81, whatever, I was totally into Motorhead. Just I went and saw Motorhead, Motorhead, Ozzy. That when I met him on the Crazy Train that time, and it was '81, and he brought me this. He's like, maybe you like this, and that changed my life. That Venom 7-inch changed my life in '81. That was a whole different Speckmann after that. By '82, everything had changed. So I understand, Cam. Your story is great.
Yeah. I mean, they opened the door. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, now that there's fucking 18 Venoms now going out there. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but I mean, the original, original version.
Fired.
the original. And I'm not. Look, I'm not ripping on anybody. I know all. Well, fuck Cronus, but the other guys, I know them. And I get along with them. They're cool guys, but
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we did that tour. I mean, we did that tour in 2010. It was Onslaught, Venom Incorporated, and Master.
Yeah.
And Jeff was sick for most of the tour. He pulled a muscle in his back, so he missed most of the tour. But he came in for the last 6 or 7 shows, and I hung out with him, and we swapped stories about the early days and laughing. And he was great, and Tony was also great.
Tony's a great guy. I'm real good friends with Tony.
I still talk to him no matter what people were talking shit about him.
Yep.
You know, with his Venom Incorporated on his own now. I like him and Jeff, and I actually like Abaddon as well. They're
Yep.
good people, all of them, and they're good
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't have anything against the core
any of
thing.
the guys.
I
Yeah,
just was.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just making jokes, which people get all bent out of shape because I'm a fucker that makes jokes, and
No,
I
but
don't
that's
hold
what I
no
mean. Is that
punches.
I know
I don't
you're
hold
making
no
a
fucking.
joke.
Yeah.
Cam, I know you're making a joke. I'm not offended at all.
No,
I'm
no, no.
just saying
I don't expect.
I'm just
I'm
saying that
sure
I like all them
some
guys.
of the viewers will get all offended. They'll get all
But I
butthurt.
smoked I smoked Mantis though, Jeff. He had me had me write him the story because when I met Venom, um, they were in Chicago, and this was the time when Van Halen Jump had just come out, the big radio hit Jump.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
And this was the first time I ever went on Venom's bus. And I went on there to hang out with Jeff and Kronos and meet the guys. They were being friendly that day in Chicago and letting people onto the bus. And Mantis was over there tapping his foot to Jump. Oh, man. It really, I mean, looking back on it now, okay, Van Halen, you know, excellent band. Okay, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But at that time, that blew my image of Venom out of the water, yo. And I
Oh
told
yeah. Yeah.
I wrote Jeff told me to write the story for his book, you know. I was crushed. I stormed out of that bus and went home, you know.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, it's just like with me when because I was a big Tom G. Warrior fan. Loved Hellhammer. I loved the first two Celtic Frost. But when that fucking Cold Lake came out, it broke my fucking heart, man. It broke. I was like, what the fuck is this?
I agree.
And Pete and I laugh about the Cold Lake all the time.
Oh,
but
man.
then again, you know, I got my own Cold Lake because you know I came back to fucking Massacre at one time when a bunch of fucking gothic bullshit was gothic Pantera, typo negative Pantera Massacre, and I'm like,
shit happens, yo. Whatever.
I agreed to do it because it's like I was fucking broke, and they offered me $3,000, and I'm like, fuck, oh yeah, I'll take $3,000, and then I took it without listening to the music, and I remember walking in and listening to the music, going, the fuck, and they're like, well, you got to finish, we paid you, and like, yeah, I guess I gotta fucking do it, but then I walked out.
That would be called the Promise album, folks. If you don't know, go find it, go listen to it.
Hey, it's my Cold Lake. It's my Cold Lake.
Okay, but it doesn't matter.
Oh,
you know.
No.
But yeah.
It doesn't.
Hey, it's evil fucking sword of Damocles that hangs over my head constantly.
Okay, but
it's always there.
Think about listening to singing, you know, I'm in league with Satan, and then jumping up and down, you know, tapping your foot to might as well jump. That blew my mind. All I could think of was, oh man, I gotta get out of here. And I did. I left the bus.
I can imagine. It shatters your fucking illusions of your heroes. But you know, people would probably think that about us now if something we tell them we listen to something.
That's a long time ago. Yeah, right. You're right. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, people fuck it. I don't care. I like to insult fuckers, especially younger crowd.
But like I said, the fun thing was that Jeff, he liked the story. He said, "Oh, it's okay, Paul."
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
He said, "Sorry."
He understood it. I
blew your ideas and stuff. I think, whatever, Jeff. It don't matter, you know.
Yeah, he rolled with it. Sometimes you understand it and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's like Jeff was telling me stories about, like, you know, we duct taped the drumsticks to Lars's thumbs. You know, no, not duct tape, crazy glue. That's what it was.
Crazy glue.
We crazy glued the sticks to his hands at the last show. You know, on the Venom Metallica tour.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually funny.
That was a great story there, yo. Sorry about the duct tape. You can edit that out.
No.
Anyway, he crazy glued him. Yeah, they crazy glued him. That was a good story, yo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. See, you got to experience a lot of that stuff where we were down in Florida and nobody came to Florida. We're sitting there like, man, we get no cool bands down here.
No,
you know,
and when you got bands that came through, they were playing big arenas. We didn't have that stuff where we'd get, like, you know, you weren't getting like Venom or Metallica coming through when they were still smaller, Anvil or Raven, you know, none of them. We weren't. I mean, you guys were getting that stuff from Chicago. We were still getting Molly Hatchet and Black Oak, Arkansas, and that kind.
It's okay. They're great bands. Of course.
I got no issues with them now.
But remember Stranger, dude?
What's up?
The band Stranger?
Oh yes, I remember.
Yeah, they were a Florida fucking rock band. They were like another Southern rock. No one knows it. Every time I mention Stranger, like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, no, dude, there was a band called Stranger. They're in that kind of Molly Hatchet, Leonard Skinner kind of shit.
I listen to Leonard Skinner in my car right now. It's on right now. It's called Second Helping. It's great. Are you kidding me?
And look, and I think that's the thing, when we were younger, that was the stuff we were rebelling against. I mean, at least us down south, I mean, it was like, it's not till you get a little bit older that you start appreciating some of that stuff. I think.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, we hated, I think, Pete, you and I'm sure Paul is the same way. We hated shit that was like, everything was on. I just hated that. The only band in that era, there's two bands that I took and I enjoyed, was Twisted Sister, because to me they were just fucking funny. They were goofy. I wasn't taking, and they had some heavy songs. Yeah, and then there was that first
Destroyer. Come on,
that first
Destroyer.
album.
Yeah, yeah.
Those guys. Yeah,
no, this fucking great shit. Twisted Sister.
And I don't mean that first full length Wasp album. I'm talking about the Fuck Like a Beast one.
Yeah.
I like the songs on that one. I think it was the EP. So that's the stuff that I like. Wasp, and people were like, "Why do you like that shit, but you don't like Kiss, or you don't like Poison?" I'm like, it's totally different. It's fucking different.
It was more aggressive. It was more aggressive for the that style.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
More energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, and look, it's the same reason why, bands like Raven, you never saw them on
Great
MTV.
band. Oh man, they were great.
Great fucking band. And I mean, I got to meet those guys at Alcatraz, and that was like one of my greatest experiences. That when we were Kam and Benediction was down below signing, and they had it was like a Sealand, and they had a balcony up on top, and I'm there looking at Kam and them, and I turn around, they're the guys from fucking Raven, and I'm like,
awesome.
I'm like, you guys, and they were the nicest, most down to earth guys, and I told them, I'm like, look, man, it's a complete injustice that they played at 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
We talked about this. It's horrible.
Yeah, 12 o'clock in the fucking afternoon. But they were just the nicest, coolest fucking guys. And the thing that killed me, they were just walking around the festival. These younger kids have no clue who the fuck these guys are.
No.
But those bands, and I tell people all the time, they got to go back and look. Those bands were the bands that made it possible for you guys to do what you did. You know what I mean? We're just fucking awesome back then. I understand now.
I saw the Raven Metallica tour. Oh, obviously, it was Raven and Metallica. That was a good tour. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So, Paul, since you were up there, what were some of the cool shows you got to see when you were younger? That we obviously didn't get to. We didn't.
Like Motorhead, Merciful Fate, and the opener was Exciter.
Oh no, man. Shit!
I got an Exciter story. Holy shit! Yeah, that's awesome.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Okay, well, last year or the year before, for some reason, we were playing a hell of a lot of shows with Exciter. We were like we were playing, and I kept feeling bad. Like every time I go out, Exciter's opening for us. I was like, that's fucked up, And I remember I went over, and I was fanboying it, man. I was kind of scared to talk to Dan Beeler. I'm like, why am I'm being a fanboy? I'm like all nervous. I finally go over and start talking to him, and I'm like, Dan, I got to be honest with you, man. You influenced me because I wasn't, I didn't start off as a vocalist. I started off as a drummer. And I just kind of went to start playing drums and doing vocals only because I picked up that Exciter album. Chuck had that Exciter album, Heavy Metal Maniac. And I picked it up, and I'm looking on the back, and I'm like, oh, fuck, the drummer is the singer. And I'm like,
hell yeah.
And I'm listening to it, and I'm like, oh, let me try it. Why not? Let me try it. And because of that, because of Exciter, that made me say, okay, let me try to do vocals and sing. It was because of that. And I told Dan that. I'm like, Dan, I've got to be honest with you, man. And you're that reason I started singing. And he was like the coolest guy down there. And he's like, oh man, that's really cool to hear, And I was like, I feel so bad that, you're opening. It should be the other way around. Should be, we should be playing. And he was like, no, don't worry about it, man. We're all in this together. We're all just to play metal, And I was like, that was the coolest thing for him to say. Yeah. And he's, and he was, they've always been really cool to us every time we play, we did play a lot of shows, Pete, remember? For some reason, even not just in Europe, but they did it over here in the States. Like a couple shows we play, festivals. I'm like, we're playing with Exciter again, man.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
Dan's the nicest, most down to earth cat in the world. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
everything just the nicest fucking guy in the world, really. You can't and he's just, he just does his thing and a great old school fucking band. I mean, cool.
yeah. I mean that. Yeah, it's definitely that era, kind of like in between. What I don't even know if you call them thrash. They're just more. They're a more aggressive heavy metal band. But what they do is what they do is awesome. And every time I saw them live, it's like reliving those songs, reliving those albums. It's like you just get that feeling, and that energy and that excitement. So every time we play with them, I'd always be on the side of the stage watching them because I'm like, dude, this is my childhood, man. This is like bringing me back. You don't
I
really get
remember.
that. You
Sure.
know.
They were excellent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Paul, so what was it like seeing Motorhead back then? Because I mean, I got to see
Oh man,
Motorhead.
yeah,
I,
I know.
I got to see I got to see Motorhead in the 90s and 2000s, but I can't imagine seeing them in the 80s.
Well, this was like the Ace of Spades tour where they were supporting Ozzy. And actually, at the same time, they released that No Sleep Till Hammersmith right around the same couple of
Oh
months.
yeah, yep, yep.
Yeah.
And sadly, maybe the first 6 rows in the Aragon Brawl Room or Aragon Ballroom, they called it Brawl Room. Maybe the first 6 rows were standing. Nobody knew who Motorhead was until a year later.
Oh no shit.
You
Yeah,
Yeah.
know,
yeah,
really,
Yeah.
it was really strange to me.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, I admit I had just discovered Motorhead over the last year or so at that time, and I was totally into them by the time they played that show. Everyone was standing for Ozzy, of course. They got to see
oh
Randy
yeah, yeah,
Rhoads. That was a great show. But I'm just saying that this was an excellent show. Motorhead was killer. You know that, of course. I think
yeah.
they played maybe 45 minutes Motorhead, but they killed it, of course. I was
Right.
happy to see that. I saw that Orgasmatron tour. That was also great with
Cool.
Pete Gill on drums at that
Yep.
show. That was interesting as well. They were great at that time. Two
Wow.
guitar players.
Yeah.
I saw Lemmy quite a few times live in Chicago back in the day. You know?
Yeah. 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 Hey, so what was the scene like for you up there when you guys started actually getting out and playing shows as Master back then?
Nobody was coming to the shows. You
Yeah, I
know?
was gonna say, Pete.
We,
There's like us.
Does that
Nobody
sound
comes to
we
the
familiar,
played, we
shows.
Dan?
played like I think we played like uh, one show in Chicago. There was 200 people who were there, and
Oh
maybe
wow.
100 were the Chicago musicians. But at that time, that was the only show we played with Master originally.
Hearing that you moved, I remember like thinking I was actually jealous. I was like, "Fuck, Paul got to move to fucking Europe. I'm still stuck here in fucking Florida, and fucking he's doing it in your." Back then, man, we weren't in touch with each other. I didn't know how anybody could just move to Europe. To me, that was like a dream. Back then it was like, holy shit, he's keeping it going. And I was envious. I was like, God damn it, I'm still stuck here, and then I
That
have to
was in
go and do.
that was in two that was in 2000.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I remember when you moved, and I was like, you know, I, it was I wasn't I hadn't gotten back into music then. I was out of.
okay,
I left. I got out of it in the end of what, like '95, when I jumped
okay,
ship, got to that fucking shitty fucking album, that the My Cold Lake album. I left. I quit.
okay,
I walked out of the studio. I said, this is shit. And I left the scene for like 10 years. I didn't get back into
okay.
doing music till 2005. But I remember hearing around, I think maybe 2001, 2002, you had moved to
Okay.
Europe. And I was like, that lucky motherfucker. I was like, God damn
Well, what
it.
happened was we recorded that last record, 1993, Collection of Souls, and then a nuclear blast subsequently dropped us. So I had no record deal anymore,
Yep.
and for 5 years I moved furniture and struggled and lived living hell, trying to get my mind
Yep.
together. And then in '98 I got an offer in Arizona. I forget the name of the record company now. Um, doesn't matter. Anyway, they're dicks anyhow, but they at least put the record out. Faith is in season for me, and then the European label at that time, System Shock, were interested in putting out the record as well, and they agreed to send flight money and put me out on tour, my first tour with MAD.
Oh
When
wow.
MAD, this is how long ago that was. MAD had just started.
Yeah.
And so I went out there and I did that European tour, and I met those guys in Krabathor and their bass player, who actually, incidentally, I just went to see play on Saturday a big festival in the city here, which was funny. He invited me, put me on a guest list, blah blah blah. Anyway, he quit the band Cravator, and I got a chance to jam with those guys. They said, "Hey, would you come out to Europe and maybe check it out and see if you like it? And if you do, we have like 20 shows just in Slovakia and Czech all summer. So why don't you come out for like 5 months and see if you like it? And if you like it, you can join the band." Well, obviously, I basically never left. I mean, I went home to sell all my shit. I
Yeah,
went home for a week or whatever, and then I moved to Europe, and I never left. And I've been here for 25 years, since 2000, you know?
that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and look, man, I mean, I think it really do you think that had you not come to Europe, it would have you would have still been doing it now? Because I mean, Europe played a huge part. I mean, Europe embraces mass.
I probably would have committed suicide, you know?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
life was so shitty at that time. I
Oh
was
yeah.
so depressed, and I couldn't I couldn't keep a band together. I was depressed and still moving furniture year after year, day after day. Singing like on the job with the radio songs while we're moving in and out of the people's shit in and out of the house. And I remember the lady said, "Hey, don't quit your day job." Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
I just said to her, "If you only knew, lady." And I kept moving her furniture, and
Yeah.
sure.
everything, but that was like a slap in the face
Right,
to reality. So then
right,
when it all came back and life got better,
right.
I went, wow, well, that was just the trials and tribulations of life,
Yeah, sure.
Either you're into music or you're not. And
Yeah.
so I finally came back, and here I am now sitting in my office, and everything is okay,
That's great. It's
Yeah.
great. I mean, I didn't mean to laugh when you said you probably commit suicide because I've been there. I'm only saying that because I've been there myself. I was like, God damn
Of
it.
course.
Sometimes and my wife gets a little worried. I carry, I got guns, and my wife gets all worried all the time. She's like, please don't leave the gun case open. I'm like, I'm not gonna blow my brains out.
When I
I'm
was
not
living
that
in,
depressed anymore.
listen, when I was living in Arizona, I was living with my buddy Louie and his girlfriend, during that time when I was moving furniture. And they did leave pistols on the table sometimes. And I would tell them when I come home from work, put the fucking pistols away. I may kill myself.
Yeah,
So I was
yeah,
depressed as well. So I understand that.
yeah. I
Obviously,
mean,
it
I
didn't
was in
happen,
Arizona. I think this. When were you in Arizona?
from 90 to 98, probably.
Okay, I was in Arizona at the same time, man. Not
Oh, yeah.
90. I moved out to Arizona and was living in Phoenix from 90, I believe it was like 96, 97. And then
Well,
I
I was
moved.
still there. I didn't know
Yeah.
you were there, but I was still
Yeah,
there. Yeah, I was still moving
I
furniture.
wasn't doing music. I used to go to that one bar.
The
All
mason jar or what?
Mason jar. Yes.
Yeah,
I
the
used to go
mason
there.
jar. All right. Yeah,
I saw Quiet Riot there
yeah,
because they
yeah.
were playing one night, and I'm like,
You
fuck,
sure?
Quiet Riot's playing. Let's go see it. And I was,
I
I
saw Saxon there, yo. I saw
oh
Saxon play there, and Saxon played there to 40 people, and then the four shows in Chicago were sold out in a huge theater, but not
yeah.
in there, not in the mason jar. 40
No, not
people.
Mason jar. And Mason jar was like, it was a little die, but we were used to that kind of like clubs back then. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
we didn't play anything bigger back then. At least I didn't. I mean,
No,
sure,
me
sure,
either. Yeah,
sure. There were
exactly.
other fucking bands out there playing stadiums by that time, but so going to the Mason jar was kind of cool for me. I went there, and then there was my chick was a goth chick, so I'd go to that one. There'd be a goth. I can't fucking remember the name of this club, but it was on the other side. It was in Scottsdale. We drive over to Scottsdale, Arizona, to go to this gothic, night.
Okay.
And I just hang
Do you
out there
remember the
looking at all
Nile
these like
Theater? Did you see any shows at the Nile Theater as well or not?
I did. I think we did see one, and
I think
I don't remember.
I saw Cannibal Corpse opening for the Misfits. That was a great show.
Oh yeah, okay. I do remember that. I remember that tour. What did I see?
Yeah,
What did
okay.
I see at the Nile Theater? I know we saw somebody, but
Okay.
I can't remember. I can't recall
Doesn't matter.
because
But good times in Arizona.
yeah,
At least
yeah. So I
think
lived out
the
there at the
weather
time,
was
but
good.
I was really not into music. I was trying to do more comic book art.
Okay.
I was so frustrated with the fucking music at that time. I quit.
Which I understand because I was there too,
Yeah,
frustrated as hell.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like fuck, and then it was literally my wife. And so 98, you left, and I didn't even know you were there. I left the same year. I left in 98 because what happened was my wife had got a drunk driver fucking smashed into her car. and totaled the car. But she was okay, and we got a big settlement. So we got the settlement, and I'm looking at her, and she's like, well, I got this money. She's like, we can either buy a new car or we can move back to Florida. And I was like, let's fucking move back to Florida because I hate it here. I'm like, I fucking hate it here. I'm working in a coffee. I'm working in a coffee shop, not a coffee shop. There was a remember those bun coffee makers? They're like, you see them in restaurants. They're like these big.
Sure.
Yeah. I was working literally at the place that made that stuff in Arizona.
Okay.
It was called on the section. It was called Coffee Inns, and I cleaned those machines.
Oh,
That's what my
man,
job was.
that
I
was
was
a hard
cleaning those
time,
fucking machines, coming in from like restaurants and cleaning those machines. That was my job, and I hated it. I hated it, and I was like, it's hot as fuck out here. You can't walk you can't walk down the street without, passing out from dehydration. You have to take water with you.
So you can imagine moving furniture. I did that for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, holy shit.
I was doing like sometimes 18 days in a row I had a job, and then a few days off. It was hell, yeah.
Yeah, it was. So it's crazy that we were both there at the same time, but I left in 98. I came back here after that the car wreck, and I lived with my brother because it's like we didn't have no place to live, and my brother had just got a divorce, and I'm like, well, I'll fucking live with you, man. And I end up moving back here and living with him,
Okay.
Hey,
Paul,
Paul,
obviously life got better,
yeah.
What got you back into doing music?
Who?
You. What got
I
you
never
back?
left doing music. I just wasn't having any success with it.
Yeah.
So
What got me back to it was the record deal in Arizona in '98.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what got me back into it. From '93 to '98, I was still playing music, doing shows,
Right.
but having no success,
Yeah. Yeah.
selling tickets to fill a club or whatever, and weird times back then,
Pay to play?
Yeah, basically. You had to sell tickets, and I'm glad those days are gone, but I did it.
Yeah.
I had to do it sometimes, I was living in LA sometime. I was in LA as well for a few years,
Right. And look, once you got over here to Europe, how did everything kind of change for you? Because I mean, look, if people don't know, you're a staple on the festival scene over here. I mean, Master plays a shit ton of festivals every summer. You can get out there and see. But I mean, Europe really embraced you. I mean, there's no question about that.
Well, it's because they knew about that first record from 1990, of course.
Yeah.
And they never forgot it. Okay, even if it was late, it came out too late in my career, to be honest. But now, 90 and 91, those first two records, they're still etched in people's minds out here in Europe, and they embraced me. I'll be honest with you. In the beginning, it was a hard time. I was jamming, with that Cravator band for the first few years here, and teaching English. Now, I couldn't speak Czech at all, so imagine teaching English to the classes. But I was. They called it English English speaking, or I'm having a brain fart. Anyway, whatever. But I was in there. I was talking to the kids or talking to the old ladies and reading stuff to them and giving them lessons. And I was finding stuff on the internet and making them fill in the blanks and making them learn. And
Right.
it worked for the first 2 years.
Sure.
Me and my
Sure.
wife were piss poor broke living in a flat.
Right.
Well, I live in a house now. I bought it years ago,
Yeah, of course.
Anyway.
Hey, but look, that's something, and I mean, you see it too. I mean,
English conversation. Sorry,
English,
that's
there you
what it
go.
was.
English conversation.
Native English conversation, they called it.
Right. Hey, but look,
But let me finish. So,
okay.
I would go to I'd go to school sometimes. I'd have like maybe 20 students from, let's say, 14 years to 20 or whatever, and I'd walk into the classroom sometimes in the morning, and the most beautiful girls you could ever imagine would be like, "Good morning, Paul," and I'd be like, "Wow, but she's 21. You read it now." Freaking out. Sometimes. Believe me, I had some crazy experiences back in the day. But it was fun. On the other hand, it was fun as well. But obviously, I got a band together after a while. After Cravator split up, I found some musicians here and started getting my shit together, and I never looked back. It's still going on. No,
Yeah,
go ahead with what you're saying, Pete. Sorry to cut you
no,
off.
no, you're good. No, listen. And I've said it before. Europeans understand the history of the scene. They go and they look. I mean, you see it if, Cam is doing the From Beyond stuff, or all that. They really, really, they've latched on to that early stuff much more than the Americans seem to. The Americans seem to just don't give a shit about it. But the Europeans, even still today, absolutely love that old stuff. And I mean, it's got to be nice to be remembered. And sometimes it's hard as a musician because I know, everyone wants to record new stuff and, you want everyone to love that new stuff, but it's got to be a nice feeling to know that, Europe really embraced both you and Cam.
Yeah,
We're lucky. We're lucky, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it really was eye-opening for me, especially what this is jumping through time and going back and forth, but when I really met Paul was when I was doing the Denial Fiend band, and we got a chance to go on tour, and Paul Master wasn't playing, but Paul was just ended up being our merch guy, and I'm like, oh, this is fucking awesome. And then we really hit it off by back then. Just he was selling, because we're kind of like, I was forced to do to Massacre. I didn't want to do it. I was kind of forced to do it because it's life, shit happens. I had a daughter, and I got behind in child support. And what had happened was we were going to come over and tour with Denial Fiend, and the United States government took my passport away because they said, oh, you're $2,000 or, behind in fucking, child support. You can't. So they just snatched it and just took it. So I was like, well, fuck, we've got to get some money together. So the promoter at the time, Falco. It was Falco. Falco at the time, he's like, well, I have an idea. He's like, you could come over here and play as Massacre, and we could probably sell this and get some more money up for you to get your passport back. Perfect. And I was like, okay. I was reluctant. I was like, well, I didn't really want to do Massacre, but okay, we'll do it, because I really wanted to get Denial Fiend out there. So we went out on that tour. I don't want to talk all the details, but then I remember getting there, and then Paul's our merch guy, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And we really hit it off and talked, and Paul just did great at selling merch, which he always has done, because he's out there pushing it, and that's literally kind of like how I finally got to meet Paul, and we've gotten along ever since. I mean,
everybody said that Cam Lee is really difficult and blah blah blue, and we had a great time. I don't know what they were talking about.
Yeah, I mean that's because that's the narrative that Freddie and.
But I mean, at that time, you remember, that's what they told me. And I remember sitting there, you and I were listening to some new Master I just recorded, and we were checking it out. I think we might have been Slaves to Society.
Yep, it was. I actually still have that, dude. I have that album because we were listening to that.
We were checking it out together, talking about it. I said, we just finished this before I came on tour. I'm listening to the final mixes. I think we were checking it out. Anyway. Yep. A small world for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, literally, that's it. I'm glad you said that too, Paul, because a lot of people have always said that about me, because that's the narrative that they pictured. Because I've told Pete this. I'm like, I got made into the perfect villain because they needed to make, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. They needed to make Chuck a good guy after his death. This is post-mortem. So after his death, so they could keep selling records and make him into this Messiah. Every Jesus has to have a Satan, every God has to have a Satan. So, yeah, so I have no problem being the bad guy. That's the problem. It's a good one, yeah. It's just like, hey, if I'm going to be the bad guy, at least blame me for the shit I said. Don't make up shit. Don't make up stuff.
Exactly. And who was cool on that? It was on that tour as well as Kurt,
Yeah, Kurt. And unfortunately, a couple of years later, Kurt died. But and I think really his problems were starting because I remember him complaining about a lot of headaches on that tour.
Yeah,
we didn't know at the time that he had a tumor, but he kept asking me for aspirin because I always had aspirin on me, like either BC powders or ibuprofen. And he'd always ask me, "Hey man, you got some of those pills?" I'm like, "Okay, man, yeah, I got them." And but we didn't know at the time. He didn't know at the time that he had a tumor, and
that was a sad end. I liked him. He was a funny guy.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah, it was
cool to hang
great,
out
great
with.
to be around. He always made you laugh, man.
Yeah,
He
he
was,
always
yeah,
had a good sense of humor for sure. I
yep,
agree. Rest in peace, Kurt. Yeah, of course.
yep.
There
And
you
Freddie wasn't on that, thankfully, because I just and then I try to work with that guy later, but I don't want to talk about that motherfucker.
That's
But
okay. We don't need to talk about it. Sam, I
well,
like Sam too.
you got
I like
people in your
Sam
past.
too. Sam was cool too, Sam.
Yeah, yeah, it
I
was
liked
cool.
him
I
too on
mean,
that tour.
yeah, Steve Swanson was on that tour. I never had a problem with Swanson. And then Sasquatch, which
Yeah, man.
I don't know, man. He's always been I don't know. That guy's he's never liked anybody. He's just an opportunist. I'm just gonna
But
call it like it.
but Sam was there too. I liked Sam. Do you talk
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Sam or not anymore? Sam was cool.
No. It's not, soon as me and Kurt got out of Denalfine, he didn't want to talk to me anymore. Me and Kurt
Oh, I
quit
liked him,
together.
but
Yeah,
okay.
me and Kurt quit that band
I just
together, and
wonder
then
what happened. Okay.
yeah, he
Huh.
didn't. He was like, nope, just completely cut me off after that. Didn't want anything to do with me.
Okay, whatever.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. Shit
Yeah.
happens. We
Yeah.
know that life goes on. You're
Exactly.
here, I'm here. We're
That's
still
right.
here,
We're
right?
here, and he's
And
not.
he's here, and we're rocking, yeah.
Yep.
Huh?
Exactly.
Exactly. Hey, look, one more thing I want to get to, and then we'll start wrapping this up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you two both, and I'll include Dave in there, who's also a mutual friend of all of ours. You guys have something very rare, which your voices are actually getting better, or at least as good as they ever were at an age where I'm sure if you'd asked us 40 years ago if you guys would still be able to sing like you do now, so is how, let's go with that, because look, we've all seen it. It's not everybody, that was from the old school that can still sing and has the voices you guys do. So what do you equate it to, Paul?
Experience.
Yeah.
You learn how to you kind of learn how to control your voice.
I was
You
about
learn
to
how
say.
to breathe because you have to.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like especially at my age, in order to do some of the screams, I have to breathe special, but I didn't have to, let's say 10 years ago. But as I get older, I have to control it a little bit.
Right.
But let's face it, Cam is out there kicking ass whenever I see him. He was great at that last festival I saw. Just
Thank you, man.
unbelievably
Thank you. I
sick.
appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
unbelievably sick, those vocals, man. I was impressed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, yeah, whatever.
I mean, no, Paul's right. It is control. It's learning a lot of control. Because when we were younger, we had a lot of like energy and angst and stuff. We could just scream at the top of our lungs and do whatever. And we didn't. I mean, I don't know about Paul, but I didn't have any training. I didn't know what I was doing.
No,
I'm just
not
going
me.
for it.
Come on.
I'm just going for it. And then you're either like, oh shit. I would go like back in the day, and I'm talking about the '90s when we were, really touring back in the '90s. I go maybe 3 or 4 shows, and my voice would be shot. My voice would be fucking shot. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? I listen to everybody's, bullshit. Oh, try some tea with honey and lemon, and then try this and try that. There was all this like bullshit like stuff. And then what I after so many years, well, I also smoked, and that was shit, So I think I attest because I quit smoking back in 2012.
Huh,
I really,
2012.
I just
A long time ago. Okay,
yeah,
good.
I quit smoking cigarettes, and I quit smoking, doing anything, cigarettes, pot, all that stuff. I just, and I wasn't a heavy drug user. I did, a lot of these guys that lost their voices or whatever, you find out they did a fucking lot of fucking drugs, man. Which
Sure.
I don't care if that's what you want to do. Like you said, if people want to do that, more power to them. I'm not an anti-drug guy. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because
exactly that's the difference. I agree. Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what you do. Well, okay, I give a fuck if you're in my band and if you're a fuck up before we play. Like and you come out on stage and you can't remember a riff, or you fuck up because you're too drunk or whatever. You'll probably get kicked out of my band.
Yeah,
as soon as we get done. As soon as the tour's over. But the guys I have now, they don't fuck around. They don't, they don't drink.
Same thing. Yeah, the guys I have now as well. Same thing.
Yeah,
They're
so
great.
I got solid guys now that don't fuck around and do that stuff. It took a long time to find that, and Paul probably tell you it takes a long time because you get a lot of fucking guys that talk a lot of shit. That's the thing about in music. I don't know if it's just general music or just on our scene, but there's a lot of guys that they'll talk a fucking ton of shit, but they only deliver about this much. They talk this much,
they talk the
but
talk, but can't walk the walk.
exactly, man. And
I know
I
it
got
sounds
sick of
stupid,
that.
but
I
it's
got so
true,
fucking sick of that. And there's
You know,
guys out there that are famous because they, their name's attached to some other name, so to a
yeah.
dead guy.
And that's
So
interesting. Now
and they
going back to what we were saying about but okay, for me, Cam, so I don't lose my voice on tour and I can still scream, like I said, breathing, but also I have to practice quite a bit before a tour, by
oh yeah, yeah.
myself.
Yeah, you can't just
I'm singing with the songs in the rehearsal studio, even when the band's not there. A couple
yeah.
of days a week, I practice by myself, then do the set with the guys, and I'll do this for 6 weeks before a tour, and then the tour is easy or
Yeah,
easier.
exactly,
Let's say
exactly. That's what
easier.
we like to do too. Yeah, I like to do that too. I like to get because I don't like to be like cold. I don't like to just go.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been off for fucking 6 months. Let's just go. No, I want to
No,
get in
no way.
there
I
and
got to rehearse for it.
yeah, yeah. We do that too. We still there's and like you said something earlier, way earlier in this about there was guys like I think your first drummer was like practicing your head. I
Yeah.
worked with those kind of fucking cunts before. I've worked with those fucking twats.
Yeah.
And those are the twats that I don't work with anymore because of that. And
Yeah.
I'm a
Practice in
bad
your
guy.
head,
I'm the villain because I would say, look, you're a fuck up. You can't even fucking remember your own fucking riff. You wrote this
Yeah.
shit and you're up there fucking flubbing it. And of
Yeah.
course I would walk off stage angry because it's like, it's embarrassing.
I think I remember one of those shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the fuck was it? Oh man, I remember a show with a couple of these guys that you played, and one of the guys was fucking up. I
Yep.
remember that. You were pissed that day.
Yep. Yep.
I think
Yeah.
I think I
It's
was
just,
doing merch maybe on that one too. I don't know. Whatever. I remember that. Anyway.
yeah, yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I don't like. And it's not even the fact that they're drunk or not the fact that they're high. It's the fact that they just didn't fucking practice.
Yeah,
You
you
got
didn't
that
get
stupid
prepared
shit.
for
Well,
the
I know
show.
the songs. I know the songs. When the ego takes over, I fucking hate it. I don't like egotistical musicians. I don't like musicians. I don't need to practice. I got it. Fuck you. Then
Yeah, you gotta
I'm at
practice.
an
Yeah.
age now where I'll fire you. I don't.
Yeah,
I
you
don't.
gotta
I'm not.
practice. Hey,
I'm not forgiving as I used to be.
And
No,
look,
I understand. I understand.
both of you guys have very solid bands now. I mean, I know both your bands, and I think people be very surprised that with Paul's guys. I mean, they're happier hanging out in the hotel and chilling out. There's no
Yeah,
partying
that's
going on. You know what I mean? There's none of that stuff going on. You know what I mean? Also with Cam's guys. I mean, you guys aren't partiers. Neither one of your bands. You guys aren't party bands.
no. I think a
Serious
lot of it
about
has
what
to
we
do.
do. I'm sorry. I want to say we're serious about what we do.
No,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
of course you can't.
It's not a party.
No, right,
No,
right.
it's a job, man. It's work. It's job, and that's the way I always look at it. And I was always the bad guy because I looked at it that way. I'm like, this is a fucking job, man. This isn't about. I mean, sure, I'm not gonna be a cock blocker. That's one thing I'm not. And I'm also, I know the rule. I know the rule. What happens on tour stays on tour. I know that fucking rule. I know it. I don't break
Oh,
that rule. But
of course.
but it is a job, and I don't care what they do after the job. Man, we play. What's the most that you work? Besides the loading up and all that stuff, you work maybe 45, half an hour, 45 minutes a night. That's it.
Exactly.
It's like if you can't get your shit together for that much of time, then what am I wasting my time with you for? That's how I feel. But I'm the bad guy.
I agree. No, that's not the bad guy. I agree, man. Get up there and do your job and do what you want in your own time. I agree.
Yeah, and that's why a couple recent guys that have, for some, I just have shitty luck with bass players. So I don't know what it is. So that's why a couple of recent, I'm not going to say names, but a couple of recent prior bass players that they're no longer here is because, well, Pete was there. Pete was there. There's this guy's just. It's like, yo, you fucking been to every practice. You don't know the songs. You don't know the songs because your attitude is, oh, I know how to play this. Then you argue with the guys that know how to play it. No, I'm playing it right.
Yeah.
It's like that petty little
wrong.
shit. Yeah, that petty
you're
shit. I
playing
don't
it
put
wrong.
up with it no more. I don't put up with it.
It reminds me of some guy. Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
All right, look,
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna wrap it up because we've been on for a while. I got to do a little
Yeah,
bit.
we're
that's a long
talking
one,
shit.
yeah.
And look,
Yeah, it's okay.
I got to do a little bit of editing, but most everything will stay in this. So look, I personally, there's nothing in the world I love than you two guys. You guys are the best. I'm very grateful for the friendship I have with both you guys because, I mean, look, had it not been for both of your musics, I never would have started singing when I did in, 88, 89. So I'm always appreciative. I love you two both. You guys are both great guys, great friends. Uh,
And
and and look, that's the thing I want to say. Get out and see these guys, whether it's Master, whether it's Massacre, it's
hopefully together soon.
yeah,
Yeah.
what?
I said, hopefully together soon. Maybe we can
Yeah,
Yeah.
do some work
look, we're
together. That'd be great.
trying. Yeah,
Yeah,
look,
we're
folks,
trying. I know.
we're trying. Both these guys want it, and we're going to do everything we can to
Yeah,
give
of
it to
course,
you
of
guys.
course. And hey, I don't know if people know this, but you book us. So no, at least with Massacre, you book Massacre. So a lot of people, if you're watching this and you want to book us, get in touch with that guy right there. He's gonna
Yeah,
he's
Yeah,
gonna
sure,
gonna
we
hook
can
you
do it
up.
together then.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. So look, I'll let Cam have the final word, but I just wanted to say, man, this has been great. I mean, as an old school death metal, head, you guys getting a chance to get on here and talk and letting the people hear some of the old school stories. I mean, it's going to be great. They're going to appreciate it. So,
But I
Cam,
mean, my biggest thing to doing this is just to show my appreciation for Paul because, like I said, that bullshit article that came out years ago or whatever when Chuck was still alive, Chuck saying what he said, you know, I'm not saying this stuff to because somebody's going to go all religious and go, oh, he's just talking about the dead. He's just disrespecting the dead. I'm not
Never
disrespecting
did.
Chuck. I'm just fucking telling the truth. Chuck said he didn't know who Paul Speckmann was, and I'm telling you that's a lie because we drove around in that fucking car and listened to the truth, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. This is the
Brother,
truth.
it's awesome. Doesn't matter. That's the truth.
Yep.
Rock and roll. Good to see
exactly.
you, Columbia.
Yeah. So, hey, Paul, look, where can people get a hold of you? I mean, I know you're out there on Instagram, right? So, if people want to get a hold of you and check out what you got going on, because you're always selling merch on there too, right?
Yeah, and on Facebook, of course. Facebook is my biggest seller. Instagram, not so much, but
Yeah.
Facebook, they're still sending money my way.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So look, folks, if you want to get a hold of Paul, find him on, and you have what's the website?
Speckmetal.net.
That's right. And also, if I can personally recommend something, go buy the book. Paul is a great fucking book. Has amazing fucking pictures. The picture of him and Ozzy is in the book. If you like old school fucking cool ass fucking pictures from early days of touring and stuff, go check out Paul's book. It's absolutely fucking amazing. So on
Thank you,
that
That's
brother.
great.
note, we appreciate you coming on, Paul. It's been amazing, man. Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
All
Have a
right.
good
No
one,
problem.
yo. Nice day, Cam, yo.
You too, man.